Now we're going to have a little discussion about why millennials do not want to procreate. It's really fascinating because if you look at the birth rate in the United States as a whole, you'll notice that it's actually dropping. Let me give you an example. In 2012, births per 1,000 women 15 to 44 fell to about 63 from 63.2 in 2011. So that doesn't sound like a huge deal, but also keep in mind that birth rates have been decreasing for the last 5 years. Now, originally officials believed that this was because the economy was bad, but now the economy is picking up and it turns out that people are still deciding that they don't want to have children. So we want to understand what's really going on around here, because if you look at the millennial generation in particular, less than half of them say they want to have kids. So why is that? And I want to open it up to the panel. I want to see what you guys think. Jackie, let me start off with you.
I think you should ask my mother whether or not I feel pressure to get married and have children, because she'll have an opinion on that. I mean, societally speaking, I think that there is definitely an understanding that women are having children much older than they used to. There is far more interest in a career, in longevity. There's also interest in having the money to provide for your family and not being young and sort of saying, oh, now what? So I would say there's definitely pressure just because we're human and that's nature, I think, taking hold. You know, the biological clock is ticking like this, that's right. But I think there's pressure, but it comes a little bit later. So I don't think, at 24, I'm not feeling like, oh my God. And then, a few years later, now I'm not saying, I just don't feel that same intensity yet.
Oh my God, I feel that intensity all the time.
Really?
Yeah, my mom is on me, like, when are you getting married? When are the kids coming? You're gonna ruin your life. If you don't have children, you'll end up alone. So I feel that pressure every time I talk to her, and it's really, really stressful, but I haven't really made up my decision as to whether or not I wanna have kids. Lately, I've been thinking that I'd probably be a little disappointed if I didn't have any children at all. I'd like to have one at some point, maybe. But I also know that it's delusional to think that it's not going to impact your career in any way. It absolutely will. And Jenny, let me bring this conversation to you because you are newly engaged, right?
Newly.
And so I want to know, I mean, you are a career woman, you're really smart, really successful. Do you see yourself having kids?
Sorry, Mom and Dad. No, I have no interest whatsoever in having children. And I don't feel any pressure. I've been, I think, open about that. I am a little terrified about the prospect of having kids. I mean, this is what I don't understand. Everyone's like, the millennials aren't having kids, they're not getting married, they're not having kids. You guys hate us. They hate us. Why do they want us to spawn demon children? I don't understand. If we're so awful, then why is it that you think our kids will be so great?
They think the reason why we don't want to have children is because we're lazy.
Because we're selfish.
We are selfish and self-centered.
I wake up in the morning and, I was late here. I can't get anywhere on time. It's like a battle every morning to get to work on time. Mm-hmm. And then you're telling me that I have to wake up, wake another human being up who's screaming at me, get them ready for, I don't know what they do all day, and then take them somewhere, and then go to work? Pfft, please, that's not happening.
So let's bring a man into this conversation.
Oh
Max.
Sorry, maybe that was a little harsh.
Nervous.
Well, for a really long time, a lot of the pressure has always, it exists. The pressure is on the woman, right? You gotta be educated, you have to be successful in your career, you have to have the children, and men will be the first to admit that when it comes to the workload, a lot of the workload falls on the woman when it comes to child rearing, when it comes to taking care of the household. And so I think a lot of women are starting to rebel against that because they want that independence. Yeah. It's awesome to be able to get up and go to work and not have to worry about taking care of something else.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that women are finding meaning in their lives other than their preordained biological role, to have children and take maternity leaves and whatnot. So I think it's really a great thing that people are waiting later.
If I may jump, I just want to say, I'm going to stand up for people who do like children a little bit and say that I do want children, and I don't think it's because maybe it is biology, I'm a woman, et cetera, but I, much to my parents' chagrin, really do care about my career and my success, and that is taking precedence right now. Mm-hmm. But I do want children. I think that brings a lovely dynamic into life, and I think it's been done for a long time now. People have been rearing children, and I think though yes, oftentimes the cross to bear is often more on the woman. I think we're seeing the numbers of the dads that are staying at home, or at least a real partnership. And I guess I look at it as saying, I will end up with someone who's a full partner, and therefore maybe one day I'll bear the burden, but the next day he will. And so I guess I
Girl, you're more optimistic than I
am. I am optimistic.
I'm just looking for a man that I like right now. Like,
honey,
come on.
A man you like, I'm looking for someone to have dinner with. Please. But I'll be the hopeless romantic of the table and just sort of say, like, I think it's possible. I think it's out there. I think relationships are work. I think parenting is work. But I think it's a really cool challenge. And I have a much older brother and sister, and I see the difficulties it is in raising children, but I also see how much joy they get from it, and that's a beautiful thing.
I guess I have a really hard time understanding the fact that just because you find someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with, that makes you happy, that you enjoy their time, that then it's like, it's an assumed that then you will have children with that person, and it's like, maybe I don't want to do that. Like, I just don't. And again, I think this is part of just my own stubbornness. I think I would say about half of my issue with having children is the fact that people assume I will. So I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Especially because I am a big fan of the futurist movement and people that say that living among us are going to be the first immortals, which I know is like a different topic, but where our lifespans and our health spans are for every year that we're living, they're extending a year. And I think that there's like so much like bounty in the world of things to do and things to see, and I think that children, it's a great sort of substitute for that for some people, but I definitely eventually want kids too. I'm nowhere near ready for them at this point, but
yeah, I would like to put my hat in that ring too. Definitely not near ready.
Right.
Excited for the future.
But I mean, we're living longer, and we're going to be exploring space soon. Taking vacations on Mars and stuff like that. And so I think everybody that I know that's had a kid says that there's a very sort of definitive shift. You're no longer living for yourself. You're living for this little thing that you've birthed. And so that sounds really.
That child, but
you're not doing any birthing ever.
I'm not. But
one final question for Max, and then we got to wrap up this conversation. What do you think about stay-at-home dads? Are you open to it, and do you think that a stigma still exists toward guys who do want to stay at home and raise kids?
If you're a dad who has like a non-traditional career and you work from home, that's fine. Both of my parents worked really hard and they had a business together, and so what I know, I like the idea of seeing a kid being raised and seeing their parents like working really hard, and I don't know.
Yeah, I like the way you went with that, because I think it's more about, it doesn't matter who's at home and it doesn't matter what they're doing, as long as what they're doing is fulfilling to them.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I am hesitant, with a lot of people saying, oh, stay-at-home dads, and thinking that means they're not going to do anything with the rest of their time other than be with their kids, because I think a lot of stay-at-home moms at this point are, finding other outlets to channel, their various talents.
Yeah.
Staying at home with kids is incredibly difficult, and I think, it underscores just how much work. You hear moms and dads come home, they're like, oh, my wife's been with the kids all day. I feel for her. I think there's
definitely
a real understanding at how difficult it is.
Work becomes an escape when you have children, so, all right.
Less procreation, more recreation.
All right.